Well, thank you for joining us once again. We hope that you did enjoy Johnny's Bite. You can get to 3FM 92.7. You go to the Facebook and other social media platforms. You get an upload of all their content as well. Johnny's Bite as well. And then, of course, we have TV3 Ghana, we have Facebook, we have all the relevant platforms, YouTube, always getting an upload, and we stream live too. Well, as we do that, we're also encouraging you to cash out. It goes with a short code. Today we have a big bonanza for you. So as you cash out, you get to win big. So what we told our service providers is to make sure that they have some combos. So they've decided to do some combos for you. So you can take, for example, 10 Ghana cedis, and that gives you a combined package. So you get to have multiple wins in one stick. So just 10 cedis, no, you press, and you can stick as many times as you want, and then you get to win it big. So you just have to choose the option. I always encourage you, choose TV3 option, and then also we have, as we have the option, you choose 8 as well. It's not on the screen, but it's a whole jackpot for you. So when you choose option 8, 10 Ghana cedis gives you more than the conservative stake that you tend to have, and so that will enable you. Today we're looking at two issues that will bring the issues also closer to you, because they are dominating your discussion platforms. And we're talking also about the vehicle emissions tax. We had talked about it consistently, but this time it's raising a lot of concerns from ordinary Ghanaians. So we decided to pose the question: why is it that the emission tax is raising all these concerns among motorists or transporters, yet the government still wants to go ahead with it? Because we're told that we should refer to the various tax handles that already are within the sector. So we have the energy sector levy and all that, even though they are for different purposes. So why is it that we didn't have an increment in some of them? Why are we trying to have different tax handles within the same related sector, etc.? So that's a combination of issue we want to talk about. There's the implementation of VAT, or the introduction of VAT by way of the increased percentages for electricity consumers. We know that organized labor say they will go on strike because they think that it's something that should not be. There was no due consultation. They say the worker, the average worker, is reeling under a lot of difficulties financially. And so they even decided not to honor an invitation from the finance minister to go and have what we call local parlance, a lot of talk. So we'll do that. Please share. Good morning to you, Brakweku. Money Rasco to come. Many of you join us. Kwesi Benson join us from the US. Imelda Nassar and Amama Gold. Thank you very much for joining us as well. Prince Ahmed. But let's look at Rent It Ghana. And now, in collaboration with the Ministry of Works and Housing, Rent It Ghana is giving you an opportunity for the youth across the country to work with them for a month as data validators. Now, people will be employed, and so they can receive up to 1,500 Ghana cedis, we're told. Now, anyone who has the ability to navigate through mobile phones can apply through www.rentit.homes/MOH, or you can also WhatsApp them or call the following numbers. We have 0530 491679, 0530 422 521. So those two numbers will enable you to reach them so that you become one of their data validators. Please share. Let us know what you think about the conversation this morning, and let us know what your own thoughts are. Now, let me just introduce our guest for the morning. I have Eric Amwakuchum. He's an entrepreneur, but also formerly used to be a chair for the Trobo Amasaman constituency of the NPP, but currently, is it not true? Trobo or just Trobo? Is it Moses Enim's constituency? Yes. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
People didn't know you're a former chair of a constituency. So sometimes First vice chair. Says chair. You are in the category of the chair. Good morning to you.
That's a while back.
Is it a while?
That's a while back.
2016.
2014.
14 to
2014. Actually, yeah,
2018, yeah. All right, and then also referee for the day. That's what I call. Lawyer Kwame Jantua. But today I have some great outfield players, so it's going to be quiet on the set. So it's going to be a light fire morning. Kwame Jantua is a legal practitioner, also is with the Convention People's Party. He's an energy consultant as well. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning. Can I ask you a question?
Please do.
It's boggled my mind since I heard it. How can somebody who is part of the fabric of our financial system not have a contract?
Not have a contract?
Yes. Auditor General.
Oh, you mean
GRA, yeah. It's
okay,
GRA.
Okay.
GRA. Yes.
I get that point.
How can you not have a contract? And then somebody who had a contract, was doing good work. Because he hit 60, they film. It boggles my imagination. And we sit and we let it ride. I don't understand it all. Somebody should say something. Since it came up, what have we heard? Nothing.
Nothing.
Quiet. So all the things he's been doing is illegal, isn't it?
They'll tell you, go and test the law. Go to the court.
All right.
Cletus Seidu Dapela is a member of parliament for Drapa. Good morning to you, Cletus.
Good morning, my brother Roland. Happy New Year.
Many appearances.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we haven't seen ourselves this year,
Yes,
have we?
yes.
All right.
Yes.
But that
let me. My brother just said something about the
because the GRA will be collecting all these taxes we'll be talking
GRA
about.
issue. So. I think that the person that the commissioner is even a pastor or a reverend person, somebody who is a man of God, as they always put it, and surprisingly could not even tell Ghanaians, this is my age. I attained 60 at this age. I'm working under contract or no contract. That is how bad the system is. So the impunity is too much in the system, and it's sad to say the least.
Right. Okay, so now let's look at the vehicle emissions tax first. The concern it's raising among motorists. Judith Brown put together this content. Let's look at it, get some lessons based on what the ordinary Ghanaian is raising by way of the concern, and then we'll come back and have our discussion.
Levy, which was passed by Parliament last year, is set to take effect February 1, 2024. Now, the Act will impose a levy on carbon dioxide equivalent emissions on internal combustion engine vehicles. In simple terms, if you own a car, then you will be paying for carbon emitted from your exhaust pipes. Well, according to the Ghana Revenue Authority, this levy aims to promote the adoption of eco-friendly technology and green energy for better control of air and water pollution. But for a country that contributes less to carbon emissions, what then is the essence of the collection?
Emissions in 2019 alone were about 16.3% higher than those of 2016. It's a very effective way of actually shifting, first of all, the mindset of people from high emitting goods and services. And, people will shift to more climate-friendly alternative services.
Although the levy is expected to generate an amount of 541 million cedis for the 2024 fiscal year, many have questioned its introduction, especially when the pollution levy is already being collected.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Why doesn't it make sense?
Because levy all around, and I don't think it can help us. Even the system is also not going well.
Because I don't understand why they are collecting the levy, because they are already taking the pollution levy and we pay for fuel. Then we would stop paying the roadworthy.
Dr. William Bannerman, however, says the emissions levy tackles a different issue altogether.
When you go to DVLA and then you test it for pollution, etc., these pollutants that are being tested there are usually visible pollutants, and they have direct public health implications. These emission levies are a little bit different because the greenhouse gases are not necessarily visible gases. You may have a very healthy engine, which is, it's a V8, it's burning, but it's really releasing carbon dioxide. It's going up there and, it will affect the climate.
Per the Ghana Revenue Authority, payment can only be made via the Ghana.gov platforms. But our checks reveal the platform is not functioning yet. As part of requirements, vehicle owners are to show proof of payment of the levy at DVLA offices before they can renew their roadworthiness certificates. Checks at the Chad or DVLA office, however, paints a different picture. Although authorities refuse to speak on record, our checks revealed collection has not yet begun. For now, it is unclear when collection of the emissions levy will begin. But until then, vehicle owners must brace themselves for what is ahead. Judith Brown, TV3 News, Accra.
And there was an initial announcement that it was going to be 100 Ghana cedis, but now we have the categories well announced. So we have 75 Ghana cedis, and then also 150 Ghana cedis, and 300 Ghana cedis as well. And these are for motorcycles. So if you're motorcycles, tricycles, so the aboboya, the various ones that we tend to use for the transportation of commuters, motorists, etc. In the various communities we have, you're going to pay 75 Ghana cedis. Motorcycles, so those doing Okada or even using them for courier services, or you own them privately as well, you're going to pay 75 Ghana cedis. Now, motor vehicles, buses, and coaches up to 300 liters. So we have motor vehicle, the normal Evan buses and some of those ones, you pay 150. Then the buses that are above so you have the civilian buses, those ones you're going to pay. And then the VVIP type of buses, so you're going to pay STC type of buses, you're going to pay 300 Ghana cedis. Then we have the big trucks and articulated trucks. And when I've worked in the sector before, so you get to find that averagely, apart from the cargo trucks and the articulated trucks, we have tankers, that's the haulage trucks for oil, so bulk oil. Then we even have the tractors on the farms. Once you go to do your renewal, you're going to pay. And then we have the mining trucks and all that, so you're going to pay. So these are the categories that we have. Now, we also know that averagely, based on some survey that we undertook for a business case for a project some few years back, we have a number of vehicles that have been registered between 2.5 million to 3 million within the database of our country, so DVLA, etc. What happens is that we only have sometimes 40%, sometimes 50% of the bulk vehicles getting to do the renewals. So there are, for example, some of the ones that have been captured, the trucks or the vehicles that work on the farms, etc. They will be working in there, and because they are now closer to a DVLA center, they don't get to be renewed. And also because they don't come onto the main interface or get to interface with MTTU officials, you're not going to be in a position to check. So, but if you want to collect such monies or taxes, you have to make sure that you probe well to be able to, because there could be some level of non-compliance at the end of the day. So the question, Mr. Amakochume, is it looks like the motoring public seem to think that government failed to do some level of engagements, but also you needed to get some public support because you need to have their buy-in before you do this. Otherwise, there's a fear of non-compliance.
Well, I mean, thank you very much. Good morning,
Morning.
To you and then to all the viewers this morning. I think that sometimes some of these conversations need to be contextualized.
Okay.
It was something that was passed by Parliament. Am I lying?
Yes, it's been passed by Parliament.
Exactly. But before you go through that process, there's a process that goes through before
the committee has approved it.
Exactly, right. So, but there's a process that goes through in terms of even the engagements and all of those things.
Ideally.
That's what happens, right? But of course, practically, you can't consult every single person for them to even get the buy-in before you put something else like that. Now, anytime some of these things come up, we need to be able to also understand exactly what the rationale is. I mean, why is it that almost everywhere in the world, in terms of best practice, there's this whole drive towards ensuring that there's low carbon emissions, and then the orientation is to ensure that you have people being more aware of the consequences of this whole conversation around global warming and emissions and all of those things, right? So whilst there's a certain component of raising revenue, there's always also another policy conversation where it's basically channeling people towards certain practices and certain behavioral change, you know. So we can have, for me, I mean, sometimes it's almost as if that everything is about the politics of it, but reality is that is what we have to do. So even if anybody makes the assertion that our contribution to carbon emissions is low, I beg to differ, because we live in this environment. So every little act that actually impacts the environment negatively is something that we need to check, and those are the global practices. So, for example, they have in certain parts of the world, you have even what they call a congestion charge and emission tax and all of those things that in high density areas, right, you would actually have to pay a levy to actually drive your car.
Because of
pollution levels and all of those things, right? And so, yes, there's a component that places some kind of financial constraints or burden on the vehicle owners. But we are looking at it from a big picture perspective in terms of every individual, in terms of how this thing affects our health and all the things the challenges that comes with carbon emissions and all that. And so, yes, once the act has actually been passed, we can still continue. I don't think that it's mutually exclusive. We can concurrently do the engagement in terms of getting people to understand the rationale behind that. And then we can have those conversations. I don't think that it's one of those things.
So what you're saying, shouldn't we be doing these engagements before we even start the processes of putting together the policy, get the buy-in, and then you go through the parliamentary procedures? Because the fact that Parliament has passed an act, even though it's legal, doesn't mean that we got the buy-in of everyone. Because
no, but that's what I'm saying.
I've engaged various parliamentary committees in the past as an individual who is working.
Exactly, but then the whole idea is that Parliament itself will not be able to touch everybody. You understand? So what they do is that I think that
they collect memorandums,
and then they also would reach out to maybe interest groups or what we call community of interest, and then decide to come up with something like that. But that's why I indicated that it is not the case that it's possible to practically engage every single individual. But you see, there's a similar conversation a few years back about these tow trucks that were supposed to, I think DVLA had a system.
I worked as the marketing communication person.
Exactly. And
we engaged the parliamentary.
And there was another pushback. And some of the people who were actually opposed to it actually shocked me, right? Just about a week ago, I think somewhere around the Achimota overpass somewhere, a big truck had actually, I think was stationary, right? And early morning, somebody actually drove into it. And we have like number of these incidents happening across the country. Do you understand? So a system was being put in place to ensure that, listen, when a car is broken or some of these major routes and these big trucks are on our roads, right? We need to find a way that, in earnest,
to prevent
further accidents. We resisted it. You understand? But everywhere, nobody actually, there's no environment where the state pays for removal of vehicles. People have that either connected to their insurance, or they have one in other parts of the roadside assistance like RAC and all of those things. You understand? So it's almost as if that when it comes to some of these things, for us, we feel that we need to be almost like exempted from all of these responsibilities. And I mean, it makes it difficult because for the political class like myself, I mean, I'm not taking myself away from it. Sometimes when we even know that this actually makes sense, it's something that in the bigger picture, right, it's going to inure to everybody's benefit. We decided to go the expediency route, right? And that's why we have some of these challenges. I believe that it's a good thing in terms of even changing the behavioral change aspect of it, where if you have an option to buy
an electric
car, for example, that you know that, yes, that is the direction,
okay,
right? And we have to, you see, it has to start at a point.
And this is the starting point.
There cannot be a perfect time to do that. But I concede that, yes, we can still continue with the engagement and, of course, get the buy-in of stakeholders and all of those things. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad policy in itself. Because if you try to do a comparison with the pros and cons, I think that the pros far outweigh the cons.
Now, I asked a basic question on the stream. I asked, do you think Ghanaians are being overtaxed? Then I also asked another question on whether people, what do they make of this vehicle emissions? And I can tell you that a number of people are not happy, even though others also say. So, for example, Frank Ano says, yes, we need it. It's our contribution towards the global climate catastrophe. We are already burdened with a lot of taxes, Ni Udoyemo says, and we are not seeing what our taxes are being used for. So he agrees taxes are good, but he says no, because they're already taxing pollution. So there's a pollution tax, they say. A grown, and so of somebody said I'm a grown man, so I'm asking a silly question. So that's yeah, baby or boise.
But you see, Roland,
yes.
Can I make a point?
Yeah.
You see, this thing is actually per annum, right? And this whole conversation around even
what's your point with per annum?
Per annum. So you're talking about, let's say, an average of 75 cedis per year, right? Now, so if you multiply, you divide it by 12, for example, how much are you paying, right? But apart from that, even the conversation around, do we need to do a lot more stakeholder engagement? Do we need to drive the advocacy when it comes to proper environmental practices? Do we have to ensure that people understand and appreciate that
shouldn't we?
Has to be funded somehow. Has to be paid for somehow, right? And so for me, I think that let's look at it from a more holistic, big picture perspective than like a certain conversation around, is it punitive or are we being overtaxed and all of those things. I mean, as for taxes, to be honest, even when you go into the Bible, there are examples like that. Nobody wants to pay, right? But the truth of the matter is that you also need these things to be able to run a system that would be of benefit to everybody.
All right. Mr. Dapila, Cletus.
Yes.
Can I call you Cletus? Yes, Cletus.
Yes,
fine.
yeah.
All right.
Cletus, good.
So Priscilla Antoinette Amwa says, it wouldn't have been a problem if the taxes were being used for the right things for all of us to see. Wasn't it the same government that promised to move our economy from taxation to production? Now, we're having a myriad of reaction to this because based on my observation, there seems to be a certain issue about trust, your word, and what really they've seen physically by way of the action in the policy implementation. You promise that you're going to move from taxation to production. So nobody's against you taxing, but the proceeds of the tax should mainstream. Mr. Mwakuchum also said we have to start from somewhere because we are a growing or a developing country. Already, these are the number of taxes I've picked based on what I was able to search through. We have the Energy Fund Levy, Sanitation and Pollution Levy, Price Stabilization, as we know, as a component of Recovery Levy as well when it comes to petroleum. Energy sector, Special Petroleum Tax. There is a Road Fund Levy, all related to transport to energy, transportation. Then there's the Debt Recovery Levy as well. So if that is the case, and we also agree that we need these taxes for development, the question then will be, why are we having all these mixed reactions to it? Is it that we don't want to be taxed?
Well, thank you, my brother Roland. Let me say good morning to my brother lawyer Kwame Janto and my brother Eric Chum and your distinguished viewers. Roland, I'm not a happy man this morning.
Are you sick?
I'm not sick, but I'm sick because of the manner in which this country is being governed by the current administration. There's too much dishonesty in the system. There's too much. You can't take, if you have been given the mandate to govern, your word to the people ought to be something that people should take, and you should not waver in what you say.
How do you mean?
Roland, I'm saying this because this is a government that campaigned against what they term as nuisance taxes in 2016. And they pledged when they come into office, they were coming to scrap taxes, eliminate all nuisance taxes. They were coming to move from taxation to production and all of that. Today, it is a different ball game altogether. All they do is to sleep, wake up, bring an idea of taxing the already burdened Ghanaian. That is what has been the order of the day since 2017. And from 2017 till date, the taxes that this government has brought onto the people of Ghana there are over 26 to 30 taxes. You
mean existing taxes that have been increased, or
yes,
some revised?
Some revised, because some of the taxes that were already there they extended them. They had expiry dates that these people came and extended the expiry dates and even increased them. Roland, let me also state clearly on this platform that my brother talked about the fact that this emission tax was being approved by Parliament. I want to state on record that the NDC minority was never in support of this emission tax.
You can't say that.
I'm coming. You come. Yes. Parliament, listen to me, my brother. Parliament might have passed it.
As of now, yesterday,
yes,
we're quoting, we still can quote from the committee's report.
Yes.
And the committee is a composition of both
minority
and the majority. And herein, we're talking about NDC and MPP,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But the thing is, even within the processes of the committee's work, we didn't see much resistance publicly.
Yes, but we resisted it at the plenary. We stated our position. Remember that they have the numbers. They are more than us. So all the taxes that they brought, including the emission tax in the 2024 budget, the minority leader, the Honorable Atoforsen, NDC minority, stated clearly that we were opposed to new taxes. And the emission tax was one of the taxes that we were against. Roland, how will taxing vehicles, motorists, how will that reduce carbon dioxide into the system, the environment? It's a lazy way of, they are just taking advantage of the fact that Ghanaians, there are so many vehicles that if we can take money from them. That's all of it. It's not going to stop. They are not telling us that by taking this money, this is how we are going to use the money to control the emission into the environment, or to be able to control carbon dioxide into the environment. That's not what they are telling us.
It's a process.
You understand? It's a process. What is the process?
Climate change, when I first heard it,
was in the
early 90s.
I'm coming.
When there was a clarion call that there was the depletion of the ozone layer.
Yes.
And I'm saying that if we want to posit our argument would have to be for the pros and the cons. And the processes of restoring or reversing the destruction of the environment is a global policy issue that is being even advocated by the UN agencies, of course, through the COP, etc. And I'm saying that what will be the alternative then if we say that this is not needed? Because making sure we put in policies to reverse destruction of the environment is very important.
Roland, listen, first and foremost, in bringing such a policy, like you yourself said, what is the alternative? The government is not bringing us alternative. The alternative should have been that government should have been able to bring us electric cars that are cheaper, that many Ghanaians can afford. You understand? Government is not telling us that.
So you are saying that there should be the market where people can afford.
Yes, people
can afford.
Doing
the transition,
yes,
it can be
so
easy.
That instead of me paying emission taxes on the current car I'm using. I can change to an electric car, which is affordable. Government should be able to do that. If government has not been able to provide means or ways for us to have alternatives, why then do you just impose a tax that cannot even stop the emission? Okay. You understand? Because you just want to collect money from the people. It's a cheap way of taxing people. And I am appalled because Ghanaians are already paying so many taxes. So many taxes. Look, most businesses, Roland, if you take your cameras around and interview people, most businesses are folded because of the taxes that they are paying. Because it's like they are working and paying taxes. Working and paying workers. So most companies, most petty businesses are not able to survive. And as a government, that is not how to rule. That's not how to govern. You're supposed to provide an enabling environment for businesses to strive, particularly the private sector. But if it is that every day, all you think about is to come and introduce a new tax. And even the way they do it without, due process. They do it without looking at the sensibility of the Ghanaian. You understand? First and foremost, dialogue is key, engagement is key. They don't do all these things. All they do is that whether you like it or not, we are collecting the tax. You understand? We are going to talk about the domestic 15% domestic tax on electricity. You will see that the ECG manager himself is saying that he is not aware of what is happening. So who did you consult? So consultation is key.
But at that level, it's only a policy implementer.
Yes, in implementation of, if you want to impose taxes or bring taxes to people, you ought to look at, first and foremost, their ability to pay. You don't just dump it on them. You don't dump it on them. Ghanaians already are suffering with so many taxes. Roland, anything you pay, this tax that they are bringing, it is the ordinary Ghanaian that is going to suffer it, because it's going to increase transport fares, it's going to increase lorry fares. Goods and services, prices of goods and services are going to increase because the transport owners will eventually put this burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. That is what is going to happen. So the government ought to be thinking about the ordinary Ghanaian. You don't create an environment or for the few selected. That is that is what this government have been doing since they came to power. Many few people are the ones doing very well. A lot of Ghanaians are crying day in, day out. The taxes are too many. Go to Roland, all essential commodities, Milo, sugar, those. Look at the prices. It's nothing but because of some of these taxes. That is why it keeps on increasing. Roland, during the Christmas period, I bought some few rice that I wanted to take to my constituency to give to some few vulnerable people, the widows and all of that, for festivities. I tell you, just 25 kg of rice, they were charging me 30 Ghana cedis to take it to Wa. Not even Jirapa, my constituency. There's nothing I could do to bargain.
When you get to Wa, then you transport it
then I'll transport it to Jirapa again for 10 Ghana cedis. So from Accra, taking 25 kg bag of rice from Accra to Jirapa would cost me like 40 cedis. That is how bad the situation.
Excluding the amount you used to buy.
Excluding the amount used to buy.
Okay.
So it tells you that when you introduce such taxes, it is the ordinary Ghanaian that will suffer it. It is not government. But like I said, what is the essence of emission tax? Why are you collecting it? Why are you collecting it? Is it that you are collecting the tax to be able to regulate the amount of carbon dioxide into the air? Is that what that money is going to be used for?
Control emission levels.
How are they going to control it? Because the cars are still going to be on the road. The same cars are going to be on the road. Is that
why the taxation is needed, so that you put in place the processes where that will make it easy for you?
Why? So that the essence is that people should be able to park their cars. It could be an
argument I'm saying. I'm
coming, Roller. Is it that government wants people to park their cars? That's the only way. That's the only way that the cars will not emit carbon dioxide into the air. You understand? Look, so I'm just saying that it's a lazy way of
Mr. Johnson,
governance.
This argument,
and government should go away from it.
This argument he makes also brought to mind the basic issues about the economics of it. So if people park their cars it puts excess pressure on the few that are on the road. It also means that once you have a supply and demand situation, it is definitely going to affect price. Now, for example, Yabua in the US says, I've been in the US for some time now, and the way they do their taxation relates to output of services and production for citizens. And so citizens, even though they are compelled to pay taxes, have various means by which they get access to services, and so the burden of thought is lessened. So for example, if DVLA was working properly, they will be able to identify cars that emit the high emissions of carbon monoxide, and those cars will not be on the road. And that will be an alternative to argue why we need an emission tax to make sure those cars will be taken off the road through a system, and then you have means by which people can get tax rebate to bring in electric cars at affordable rates.
But that's part of the policy.
Those strategies are not visible, yet we just want to tax. All right? So the question then is it that we're just taxing for taxing sake, or we have the belief that there is going to be a modality by which we transition the current status quo of the cars that we have into so-called, because for example, I cannot afford Tesla. I cannot afford some of even, and they are not cheap electric cars on the market actually. They are not. Mr. Jantwa.
Good morning to my fellow panelists. Good morning to our viewers. You know, Roland, we have a lazy way of running our country. Lazy man's way of running our country, because we don't want to do the hard thinking and the kind of results we can get from that hard thinking. When the economy is difficult with no money in the system, where do the people get the money to pay the taxes? So if government has indicated that they want to bring in electric, or they're giving concessions to bring in electric cars, is that the first place you start from?
Where then?
Is that the first place you start from? You start from the point where public transport, where the mass of people use public transport. So you say, okay, this is the policy we are bringing. However, we are starting with public transport, where gradually we will convert our public buses into electric buses. Period.
Not this blanket.
Not this blanket thing. Do the hard work. So you start from there. Then gradually, because you know today, VRA are building the post that you used to
charge
points. They are building it themselves. They bought 2 electric buses. And if you go to Akosombo, they've built the charge point and they are charging it themselves. Are you saying if there was a plan in place to start that, it won't help? You're rather starting with people who want to buy electric cars. As you rightly said, can you afford an electric car? And do you know today, there are trucks that have been designed by an Indian company that is electric, these heavy laden trucks. So that is where you start from.
There are some Chinese trucks.
Yes, that's where you start from, to make sure that the people are cushioned. And so my good friend Eric says you go to some countries and there's a congestion charge.
It's widely traveled.
Are there, with these countries, are there not alternatives to transportation? Are there not? Go to the UK.
The structures are there.
Me, my car in the UK, I sold it because my house is very close to a train station. So I can walk to a tube station.
In the UK?
Yes, and jump on the train.
So you have to sell it because there was no need to be keeping a car.
There's no need to keep in a car. Because they now brought in a system where there's 24-hour train service.
You live in the UK. Is it true? What he's saying?
It's true.
You know what he's saying. You're arguing
24-hour. Let me finish.
No, let him finish.
24-hour train service. So if there's 24-hour train service, why do I go and waste my time buying petrol, put in car, when I can go, and even if I want to leave town at 12 midnight, there's a train to bring me home. There are buses to bring me home. That's the first point of call. Making sure that public transport is available to all. Now, you want to talk about a policy. Before you bring these taxes in, what you look at is, okay, what's the policy to handle carbon dioxide? What are the policies? What are we going to do to make sure that we bring the emissions of carbon dioxide down for people to see? Then you itemize it. You go out there, you see what you can do. One of them is trees. One of them is making sure that the cars that you have are energy efficient. Have we done it? No.
Not like when we wanted to introduce the CFC, non-CFC fridges, or even the bulbs. In the 90s, the Rollins era, before era.
Did we do that? We
No,
haven't
dear,
done
under
it.
Kufu, I don't know.
We haven't
just
done
tax.
it. We
I've
just
seen
said
so
tax.
far.
So let me go to the taxes that you mentioned in the fuel build-up. So they have Energy Fund Levy. What's that? What's Energy Fund Levy? What does it do? So you have Energy Fund Levy.
We have legacy debt. we have to pay.
Wait. You have Energy Fund Levy, and you also have Energy Debt Recovery Levy. Then you also have Special Petroleum Tax. When you take these three, are they not the same? Is there no duplication in there? Isn't it different wordings under the same line? Isn't there? And you also have Sanitation and Pollution Tax. Are we not paying for pollution? Emissions, is it not pollution? Is it not a double or triple tax? And then you come to parliamentarians and you say, oh, it's not possible to, talk to everybody. What is one of the main duties of a parliamentarian? Main duties of a parliamentarian is to make contact with your constituents. Go to your constituency. Ask your constituency. We are thinking of bringing this policy in. However, A, B, C, D, E, what are your comments?
So this should be done
before. Every parliamentarian should go to constituency, have town hall meetings with your people, and bring the results to parliament. This is what they are saying. This is what they are not saying. When you go to the British Parliament, that is what they do. So the British parliamentarian can come and stand in Parliament and mention Roland's name. That one of my constituents called Roland said A, B, C, D, E, X.
They have such engagements?
Yes, they have such engagements. They have surgeries with their constituents. Do we do it here? Is this something we do here?
But we have officials in government who have lived there.
Don't even go down that route.
Okay, Roland.
Let me finish.
No, he hasn't finished.
Are you not done?
No, I'm not done. When you were talking, I was quiet.
Today, don't stampede. Don't stampede.
So you get tanker drivers
Articulated.
distributing fuel.
Yes.
They are going to pay these. Are they?
The cost of transportation.
Yes. Are they going to?
Definitely.
That is set by MP.
Are they going to fix it?
It doesn't come easily.
It won't come easy. So they now pay this, and they say we are going on strike. What is the easiest form of transportation in this country? Maybe combustible cars. What else is there? So you'd have thought a government in this Fourth Republic would think ahead, and even the government today would think ahead and say, going forward, the way this thing is going, we need to do something. Don't you think? And it was President Kufuor who started this railway thing, Yes? President Kufuor was the one who started the rail from Tema to Accra. Or was it before? Yeah, was it before?
The structure was there.
Are
but
you trying to tell me that we've been, this Fourth Republic is what, 30 years? Is it 31 years or 30 years?
1993 to now.
So
to
now,
31.
we haven't been able to construct
Last January we came
at least, if for nothing at all, within our cities, trains, alternatives to the combustible
After
cars.
31 years.
Of 31 years. So what have we been doing? Tell me, what have we been doing? Because you go to certain countries, within a certain duration, go and look at Senegal.
Which Senegal?
Senegal up the road here.
Dakar, Senegal.
Yes. Go and look at the train system they put in place.
In the city.
Yes, in the city. They took $1 billion and look at their train system. Perfect. Are you saying in Ghana we can't do it? Are you saying in Ghana we can't do it? And it's because most times when politics, we go into an election, a government to come in, we cry, me enemy cry, government back on ebano, you continue, we'll abandon it. Look, Roland, the windfalls that we get from fuel prices, anytime fuel prices go up, government gains revenue. Those windfalls we get, what are we using those windfalls for? Can we not use it to cushion the people in times like this? Is that what you're telling me? I think, and I'll conclude on this, I think, and I don't know, maybe my good brother here who is a parliamentarian will be able to tell me. Don't you think we should have a law indicating that any government that comes in and pushes the debt limit over a certain threshold will be held responsible? Don't you think so? Because the moment a government leaves, they've left the debt, nothing happens to anybody.
Right. Look, at the end of the day, we know that carbon dioxide is a main means by which we are doing these emissions and harming the environment. We knew this long ago. I think the concern about us having the right sort of processes by which we undertake policy implementation is very important. And you do agree with him that what the developed world has done is to make sure that they put in place the structures, and then subsequently there's some reprieve for the citizens, and then the taxations fall in line. Then ultimately we do the transition and have the alternatives. So if we know that, why don't we do what we have to do first?
No, but I mean, I think that is a very oversimplification of the conversation.
You think so?
Yes, I mean, because you can say that public transportation should be improved. There's nothing, I would not disagree with that. You can say that we can encourage a lot more conversation and improve the communication when it comes to advocacy and people knowing about these emissions. Then again, it's also not true that this government hasn't done anything about carbon emissions. And you said that all that you've heard is about taxes. Listen, there's no government, at least in this current dispensation, that has actually undertaken more tree planting than this Akufo-Addo administration. And you sit here and you know that every year there's a huge initiative to plant trees across the country, and it's been done extensively over the period. The support has been given to even the Forestry Commission to replant and do the reforestation, all that are there for everybody to appreciate. You see, sometimes when we have these conversations, it's important that you stated categorically that nothing has happened. And I'm saying that's not like
cherry picking what the real issues.
No, we're not cherry picking. I'm saying that I would not sit here and say that we don't have the need to improve our public transportation infrastructure.
Please, can I
will not say
just one
I
question?
won't say that.
Just one question.
Don't ask a question.
Concerning what he just said.
Don't ask a question.
It is not the case that you would have to wait for a perfect system for these things to happen. So even these environments that we keep referring to as best practices are also always finding ways to improve, right, and tweak and improve their transportation system.
Are you the one saying this?
So I'm telling you.
Didn't we have the president putting his presidency on the line to make sure that Galamsey sites and river bodies are not polluted, and yet nothing is being done?
No, but you cannot. But if you say
they are not the same issues.
No, but they are not the same issues.
They are not depletion of the environment, affecting the ozone layer.
You cannot say that nothing is being done. You can say that, as far as you're concerned, in your perspective, maybe a lot more can be done, or you're not happy. You're not convinced that we have done enough. But you cannot sit here and say that you haven't been privy to all the things that have been done, even when it comes to this Galamsey conversation. Okay.
So we're planting trees and then Galamsey?
Yeah, but because it's a very complex conversation. Things have done.
What is complex?
There are initiatives that have happened. There are still
Mr.
challenges.
Maguchu, what is complex?
There are still challenges.
What is complex?
But you can't sit here and say that.
But what is complex about this conversation?
No, but that's what I'm saying. That if you say that nothing has been done, that cannot be the truth.
What has been done?
But you and I know that there were committees that were set, there were task forces that were set, there were places, there was even at a point where there was outright ban. But of course, people are doing, that is why we call it galamsey, it's illegal. And so once it's illegal, people would find ways of actually entering the forest, going into places where they're not supposed to go, right? And you have to find systems in place to forestall that.
Really?
But you can't say that nothing has been done.
So the galamseyers are outwitting the various agencies that we take, and they are constantly polluting the water bodies. No, I'm not shifting. You are saying something has been done. I've taken the position that nothing has been done.
Yeah, but that is not
because the initiatives that are supposed to make sure we counter this.
If you say, so you see, it's this thing about, they've taken the time. Even members of parliament say that. They sit down. Every year they have the preview of the financial and economic report that is sent to them. They have appendices. They sit in their constituencies. When they are going for internal elections, they're telling the people that, I went to lobby for this, I went to lobby for it, I went to lobby for this. The next morning, you sit on national platform and say, this government has done nothing. That's an example. So you cannot, and that means that if you're sitting in parliament, for example, and you say that you do not know what our taxes have been used for, then you don't have any business being there. Because you have oversight responsibility, you have the responsibility to do so. And at every point in time, you have the privy opportunity to call the ministers and the actors that are responsible for these things. You're asking questions, you are the ones doing appropriations, you're the one approving all of these things. And economic statement reports are brought to you to go through at a committee level, and then you are presented the report and you haven't seen anything. What kind of analysis is that? So you can say that we can do A, B, C. If you promise to do 200 of this, you've only done 80, and so there's a shortfall. That is a conversation. But you can't sit somewhere and say you haven't done anything, you haven't seen anything. That is wrong.
On what tangents should we be going before we start implementation of collection of money?
But it's a like hydra-headed approach. You need an
multifaceted
approach. Yes, it's because what you need is that, yes, there's a need to, one, there's a punitive aspect of it. There's the making sure that you have resources to do the advocacy, to implement a policy and all of those things. Even if you want to plant trees, for example, right? You need to find resources to be able to say, okay, in this particular zone, there are places where they call them green zones, right? And every time we start having this conversation around best practice, there are places that you have green zones where everything there is electronic and all of those. You need to find resources to be able to do that. So it becomes a chicken and egg situation where, okay, at one point you have to create a perfect system for you to be able to do so.
Is it there now?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You cannot create a perfect system, right? Because it's like a chicken and egg situation. So you need to be able to find the resources to exact whatever it is that you want to do. And people have every right. And
you are saying we have to start from somewhere.
Yeah, people have every right to question public policy positions that are taken by government. But a government is also put in place to make hard decisions, right? And at the end of the day, you live and die by those decisions that you make. I don't think that it's in the interest of any government that, I'm going to put in a policy, right, knowing very well that this policy is so harsh and punitive that is actually going to affect my fortunes as a political party and as a government. I mean, come on, think of it. Where is the common sense?
Why would they affect your fortunes?
No, but that is why I'm saying that
if you implement a tax, how does it affect your fortunes?
Yeah, but you have to take the hard decision. Of course, you will say that whilst you're doing that, you have to take into account all the considerations and the current state and the environment. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. Roland, so I have this one from Helga Boedi, who says, it's not necessarily about the taxes. The biggest challenge is about utilizing the taxes for what it's intended for. If my street lights are getting fixed, if my roads are in good condition, if there's a proper or a great condition, if there's a proper transport system such that we will have fewer cars on our roads privately than our drive, then we'll pay quietly. I guess the reason for all our woes remains the same. COVID, Russia, Ukraine. Meanwhile, COVID is still providing us, or Ukraine is still providing us with grains, so to speak. So let me just take one or two more. Kofi Kwatin, Ameni says, Please tell Mr. Amakuchum that government has caused more harm to our forest reserves than any government. So a blanket statement that nothing has been done is a true statement. I can't get anything meaningful from any presentation that fails to acknowledge that. All right. And then let me have Erickson. Erickson says, worldwide, the most effective way and campaign to combat greenhouse effect is to have more and more green environment by planting trees and other effort at conserving the environment. But in Ghana, they rather supervise destruction of our environment via galamsey by their own people. Even for those within government, like Professor Frimpong Boateng, who has issued a statement to the presidency, he is witch hunted, you say. All right. So how do we get to the middle road?
Well,
because there's electricity, the VAT that's supposed to be paid on electricity as well. And
Laura, I have some few bites on my two brothers' submission about Parliament.
But that's true.
Parliament
you approved it.
Yes.
And I've stated it categorically.
And I understand. But you see, a government was voted for. Ghanaians voted for a particular government. That is Nanado and Dr. Baumia. They campaigned against taxes, nuisance taxes. So why will they also overburden the people by sleeping overnight and bringing taxes to Parliament for approval? Are you saying that they just, what the taxes they bring to Parliament, usually they bring them and they don't mean Parliament to approve them? You know.
Are you saying that anytime you have to approve, you don't have to raise it?
No. But we've been resistant. It's a game of numbers. You know that. You understand. But why will the government, a party that has been voted for, why are they overtaxing the people? Why do they sleep every day and bring a tax policy to Parliament for approval? That is also a point that everybody should look at. Why? You are a party, you are a government. Ghanaians voted for you. Then every day you are increasing taxes. Every day you bring a tax and expect government to shoot it down. Parliament to shoot it down. That is the point that I'm making. Parliament is a game of numbers. It is not by physical fight. You understand? They have the numbers. So if they want to introduce emission tax, the NDC stated that we are against the taxes. Yet they have the numbers. They will pass it. You understand? But the question I'm asking is that the NPP was voted for by Ghanaians. So why will they every day bring a new tax? Every day overburdening the people with taxes. That is what his party should also stop doing that. You understand? That is the point that I'm making. Some people have argued here that, look, anywhere, if you want to control greenhouse effect, if you want to stop carbon dioxide, you ought to be very serious. You have to preserve your forest. You have to ensure that the environment trees are planted and the forest reserves are protected, the water reserves are protected. Is that the case in this government? Is that the case? Our forest reserves are being depleted. Galamsey has become so lucrative under this regime, and they are doing it in our forest reserves. Yet you've come to use the lazy man approach by taxing car owners, by taxing motorbikes, Okada riders. That is what many of them earn something from. You haven't provided jobs. You remember what they promised them in the 2020 elections. They promised to even buy cars for people in this country. Today, you want to tax them. You have not provided the cars. People have money to buy motorbikes and, small business, courier businesses and earning income. You want them to pay tax again. You are collecting the tax too. You are not telling them that this is what I'm going to use the tax for. This is what you just want to collect the taxes because you think motorbikes are so many vehicles are in the system. The alternatives have not been tabled. Yet the best way to tax or to collect money is by just taxing vehicle owners. The economic management team of this administration is the least to talk about, particularly the head of the economic management team.
I don't know. What do you mean by that?
He's not thinking. I mean, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, as the head of the economic management, is that the only thing he can offer this country?
Are you saying that taxation is not good?
Because Lola. Because I am saying that They campaign against taxes.
Please. Because even in the developed world,
Yes.
taxation is what they use in developing their countries.
Very well.
Supporting their own business.
Very well.
To the point that they
Roland, I ask you
to
a
the
question.
point that they are able to get returns in
so-
such a way that they are even able to borrow from us.
So Roland, I
or
understand.
lend
I
to us,
understand
so
that.
to speak.
Let
We go and
somebody-
borrow from them.
let somebody on this platform tell us what they are going to use the taxes, the emission tax for. Somebody should say it here. Somebody should say.
But you are
it.
in Parliament, so you.
I am not the one to say it. They have not told us what they are going to
So
use
why
the
did you
tax for.
approve it?
So, Roland,
They did it because they have the numbers.
This morning,
My party
this
and my
morning,
minority
if I-
MPs, we spoke against
Mr.
it
Janto,
and we never
please,
supported
please.
it. I'm saying that somebody around this table should tell us what they are going to
If you
use the
ask me
emission
out-
tax
if
for.
you ask me out to-
What are they going to use the tax for? It's not stated. It's a lazy way. They just want to collect money from the people and burden the people the more. That's
the
all of
committee's
it.
report. We'll pull the committee's report out. Then now, please. At the end of the day, is it that we are over
Roland,
talking?
you don't give me more time to talk. When I'm talking, it's like you just give me short time. That's what I observed this morning.
Okay, please.
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah.
come.
No, you deal with them. I'll
Okay.
come.
So at the end of the day, is it that we are just shooting down a government policy, or but there are genuine concerns? As you wrap up on this
It
subject.
is how it's been implemented. That's the crux of the matter. How it's being done. The hidden agenda under all these things is carbon credit. That's the hidden agenda. Because government would earn money from carbon credits. You can apply for carbon credits if you are seen to be working on carbon dioxide. And even when they apply for carbon credits, do they tell us how much money they've got? Do they tell us what they're using the money for? That's the crux of the issue. People are prepared to pay taxes if they know what the taxes are going to be used for. This government doesn't tell us. And they come and they just give us a tax, no explanation, no negotiation, nothing. Nothing with the people. We are collecting emission tax. Take it or leave it. When people's jobs depend on the kind of
Mr.
transport
Makuchi said you
system
shouldn't
we
make
have
such
here.
blanket statements.
But it's true. It's not a blanket statement. It's true.
It's a blanket
It's
policy
true.
too.
You see,
Come
Blanket
on.
policy.
Yes.
Look,
Just to
if you're
collect money
going to
from
bring
the
a
people.
policy in place,
the electricity one?
Wait. If you're going to bring a policy in place that is going to directly affect the people, the first thing you do is what? Discuss it.
Engage them.
E-levy, complete example. Then they now turned around and started talking to the people. Same thing as this VAT thing. What is the finance minister saying? We are now going to sit with Labour. Why didn't you sit with Labour then? Why didn't you sit with stakeholders then? To tell them that A, B, C, D, E is what we have to do. And who took us where we are today? All this has got to do with IMF. All this has got to do with IMF. They are putting pressure on them. And see, and this is why I say, be transparent with the people. Tell the people what is happening. Let the people understand where you're going and then get views from the people to put certain things in place. But no, they come and they impose it on the people because the first thing is that they don't respect us.
No, not at all.
If they respected us, there will be things they will do that we would all acquiesce to and say, yeah, it's a good thing. So, why should it be 15% VAT? Why? Why? Can you not have, even if you want to bring the VAT in, can you not have a special percentage for that? Considering the pressure it puts on the individual? Considering. The system is difficult. The system is challenging in terms of getting money to do ABCD, children's school fees, your day-to-day living. And you want to put 15%. Come with the 5%, come with the 3%, come with the 2%, and other revenues that are coming in that you don't tell us, that you are using for things that you are not supposed to use for, pull some of that. The stabilization fund, what have we done to it? Why have we done the stabilization? We've cut it. If that stabilization fund was left to grow at the 500 million it started with, would we not have money there today? So it's the entire management of the economy that is creating all these things, and they are not prepared to sit with us and talk to us and get our views too. Look, I have not seen anywhere where you have a servant in your house, and it's a servant who dictates to you. I've not seen anywhere.
Who is the servant here?
Who put them in power? Is it not the people? Aren't they there to serve the people? And you're bringing such taxes in and you will not discuss it with the people? Okay, let's move on.
All right, so let me just a couple of your views and okay. So the understanding of the opposition is to oppose everything government proposes. That's Nana Kwesi, who is raising this issue on our stream as well. And so, because I asked the question, what they make of the taxes. Now, we must advocate for cleaner sources of energy. We must all choose effective ways to protect the environment. The emissions tax is a wonderful way for all of us to contribute to protect our environment,
Right.
and keep the environment safe. Did you say? Okay, so there's a critical question here, and I feel for what shall it profit a government if it taxes vehicle emissions to save the environment and looks away or is ineffective or enables its assigns to perpetuate galamsey that destroys the same environment? It's a situation. I think Mr. Amakochum tends to relate to some of these comments when you make them as well. So let me read from Edu Jitamaklu, who says, Kufuado and Baumia are just interested in the revenue for election-related expenses. It has nothing to do with the environment. This administration is importing diesel-powered trains into the country. At the same time, they claim that they want to reduce emissions. Okay. But it has to start from somewhere. So Isahaku says, electric vehicle technology is still young globally, and the focus is currently on the production of smaller electric cars than haulage trucks. It is therefore naive to think of eliminating commercial buses and trucks from our roads through the composition of this vehicle.
Gradually replace.
Gradually
replace.
It's
have a policy in place that
it's
you
the process. No,
it.
but you know, the argument of Mr. Makuchum is that we have to start from somewhere. And
no, but so for me, I think that like everybody is speaking as if we need a perfect situation to implement something, and it cannot be the case, right? I mean, when it comes to public policy positions, and there's always a room for tweaking and, I mean, doing a post-evaluation of whatever it is that you have done, right? Now, what you need is to have a certain blueprint and say that, okay, these are the issues, these are the set targets, and this is what I want to do in that particular regard. Now, you need to even be able to raise the revenue and put in resources to be able to do the implementation of the things that we are saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? So in one breath, you're supposed to put all of these things in place, for example, before you actually think about be imposing some kind of tax. How about also having a system where a certain component of these revenues would go into doing the same things that we are talking about? And that's why I use the chicken and egg analogy. Now, of course, for the citizenry, I pay taxes. I'm going to pay this emission tax. So there's nothing that I would be extremely excited about. Nobody will be excited about it. You understand what I'm saying? But the point is that is how states are run. That is how countries are run, right? And so you can have challenges in specific areas of either governance or the economy as to where you think that government can do more. But this state cannot survive and cannot be in this state that we are in now if we are not collecting taxes. And even as bad as we think it is, we have police people on the street, we have our security, we have people, soldiers manning our borders, stopping insurgents and terrorists from coming in. We have kids going to school, we have teachers who are being paid, we have doctors who are being paid. You can have an NHS that is working, even if you feel that it's not as effective as it is. These are things that Ghanaians are getting support. You have things happening in the agri sector, people taking the health sector. So yes, it is not a perfect environment, right? But this argument that, oh, we need to see what it is. Don't you have roads that are being constructed in your constituency? And when you're going for an internal election, we're telling the people that you went to lobby for it. Then when you come and say it on TV3, you say, oh, They haven't done anything.
We are
How can
talking
you?
of- we are
There's a
talking of-
double
we are talking of
speak.
emission of
You
carbon
understand?
dioxide.
But you went all the way. You did an
And we are-
Adama Lisa. Now
no,
you're
no,
talking
we are
about
talking of
economic
emission of carbon
management
dioxide.
team and all of those things. And I think that yes, I have absolutely no challenge with people pointing at specifics and say that Eric, this government that you are a member of in this particular field, you can do much better. And you know my orientation. I won't have a challenge with that. But this whole blanket, oh, I haven't seen anything, we haven't done anything. It cannot be the case. We've all driven through from our homes into this place. You have police people working. You have a national security.
So the
apparatus.
police and
You have
national security
all
will
these
stop
people
the carbon
are paid-
dioxide.
No, you see, listen. All these people are paid with, right, as a result of the taxes that we raise. You understand what I'm saying? You can have.
So you're saying
I
that
have
we should
beefs.
just blanketly
No,
raise
no. I have beefs. I have things that I'm not excited
But you
about.
can't say
as a
because you are with the
citizen.
ruling
No,
government.
I can say that. You know me. I can say whatever.
No, I know
it is
you're
that I
outside,
want
though,
to
not
say.
here.
Yeah, I
Here,
can.
when you come,
I
you don't
can,
say that.
I can. But I'm saying, but as far as I'm concerned, this is not a platform for us to be making blanket and banal.
It says
statements.
blanket statements are not.
Is making blanket
That's what
statement.
Eric is saying.
It's the same taxes. How do you get
So
paid?
are you saying that the emission tax?
No, but
you are
that's
collecting
what
the
it's
same salary?
a principle.
Don't divert the
No, it's a
discussion.
principle of our conversation.
If we are talking
Parliament,
of
you
emission
get
tax,
paid, you take ex
how do
gratia,
we
you have
regulate
vehicle
carbon
loans
dioxide?
and all of those.
How do we
things.
All right,
Same
gentlemen.
taxes.
All right,
Eric,
gentlemen.
listen, Eric.
Now, before
coming.
before you come in, please. We situated this conversation.
But
He is digressing it.
you actually did that. You diverted into
No.
other realms and invited
Okay,
us
okay.
to come and comment.
Granted, I
let me-
did that.
let me-
Granted, I did that. So we situated this conversation. For every policy, there is a rationale
Yes.
or objective of the policy,
Yes.
and the timeline for the policy implementation.
Yes.
Like the way we've been collecting ESLA, still collecting, even though we've been security and we've done all that. So for people to pay taxes, the comments we're getting from those who will be paying the taxes are that we pay taxes because we want to see something in the environment, being services that we use or facilities or whatever it is that we use, that will compel, there should be a compelling reason. And they say the compelling reasons are not manifesting for them to have that agreeable point in time with government, that this policy you want to introduce, agreeing to pay. It's very basic. And this is related to a specific tax. Nobody is digressing. There are examples that are being picked from other sectors that are being used to buttress points. If that is being raised and it's a problem, we cannot state that. So nobody is saying
Roland,
that.
let me. I even just have a problem.
So the concern he has is, he says, we are arguing from a point of just blanketly saying that taxes are bad.
No,
and that we are not seeing
nobody
anything.
has said that. Nobody has said that. What we are saying is that, look, Roland, first, in the first place, my brother Eric knows that the VAT that the MPP government keep on increasing everything about VAT, he knows that they oppose it. When the idea of VAT came into this country.
But that was a long ago.
That was a long ago, you understand? So if you came into power and all you know is that every other day you are increasing taxes, and yet you think the citizens should not complain. If you are paying tax or if you are bringing a tax policy, there should be a compelling reason, as you have stated. What is the reason behind emission tax? What are they going to use the money for? Is the money that they are going to collect, are they going to use the money to arrest the emission of gas into the air? Is that the reason? Can it happen? They are not telling us this. That's the reason why many people are complaining. You just don't bring a tax because you think it's convenient way of taxing people. The people are already overburdened. Ghanaians are already overburdened with taxes. Roland, let me also say that when the executive is bringing any tax policy to parliament, they don't consult us. They don't consult us. That is one thing everybody should know. It's not like when the executives sit in Flagstaff House and they decide to bring a tax policy, they come to consult us. No, they only will bring it and pushing for it to go through. but they are also being voted for. And that is insensitive on the part of the executive too. You understand? Because if they don't bring policies, if they don't bring taxes like this, Parliament will not approve them. Because once they bring the policy, they have the numbers and they will use their numbers to bulldoze it through. But we are telling Ghanaians that, look, under the current regime, their words cannot be taken. These are IMF conditionalities. The IMF that they said they won't go there today, they won't go there tomorrow. They ended up at IMF, and IMF is dictating to them, and they are now under the ambit of IMF, and IMF is the one telling them to impose all these taxes. Domestic 15% rate on domestic electricity, not even 5%, not even 6%, not even 7%, 15 good percent. If you do the computation at the end of the day, you are talking about 21%, and that is going to burden the poor Ghanaian again.
Chris from Ashaliboche.
All these things, Ghanaians have the opportunity in 2024. Vote them out.
Chris from Ashaliboche says, how many young people in Ghana today can easily import used cars under this government? They only introduce policies that satisfy their appetite and are careless about the ordinary Ghanaian. All right. Okay. Nigeria has introduced its major tax types from, or you mean tax handles from 62 to 10. Here in Ghana, we have 20 different taxes and levies on imports alone, and 14 different taxes and levies on petroleum products alone. I'm into taxation, so I know what I'm talking about. We have to compare our country to the same like countries. Now, do you want a house to buy or want a house to sell right here in Ghana? Rent It Ghana has so many options when it comes to houses to choose from. So they have houses for sale available all across the regions in Ghana. They come at affordable or reasonable prices. Paperwork concerning these homes are also screened before sales are undertaken. Therefore, you don't have to worry about being duped. There is absolutely no room for scam when it comes to Rent It Ghana. They have different types of houses ranging from smart houses to furnished apartments to even uncompleted houses. So you will not pay anything expensive for this. You can trust them. So call 055-2618-521 or 053-0422-521 or 053-044-7312. For Rent It, they say find your next home with us. Well, we're done. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Makuchum.
Kofi Capito says you ask Eric something. He says...
Kofi Capito?
Yes.
It's a strong...
He's still talking. Kofi Capito should not talk. They are the problem of this country.
What do you mean by that?
Let me just say what he's ask Mr. Chu. Is it his party who has improved the welfare of the security agency to